then you start thinking about the plants that you want to have, whether you go annuals or perennials. Doesn't really matter. What I do is kind of pick out the plants that I want, or that I've already selected, and I kind of arrange them in the pot. So instead of pulling them right out of the pot first, I'm going to kind of play with it to see, maybe I got too many plants for my pot. Maybe I didn't get enough, which is a bad thing. But you kind of play with it to see, you know, the style that you want, how you want it to look. So before I plant, I'm just playing with it. So you could do a pot from, we always say, you want to do your pots, thrill, fill, and spill. So the thrill is the something tall in the middle of the pot. It's something that catches your eye. Pots, you need something to go, ooh, you know, it catches your eye. Why are you looking at? If it's all the same level, if it's all the same color, you're really not going to pay a lot of attention to it. It's not very dynamic. So you want something to thrill, and that's usually something a little bit taller. You can put it in the center of your pot. If you're going to be seeing this container from all sides, you can put it in the center. If you're going to have this up against the wall where you're only seeing it from one side, you pull your tall thing towards the back, which is kind of what we've done on this one. See, the front looks very, very pretty. I have thrill, fill, and spill. What's the back side? Nothing. But it's going to be up against a wall or in a corner where you're not going to see all the sides. So why waste plants on the back side? If nobody's going to see this, don't waste your time or your money on that. Put it in the front of the pot. This one I'm going to do in the middle, since that's a good example of a one-sided. We'll do this one in the middle. So I'm kind of playing with it, seeing what I like, what I don't like. And I think that looks pretty good. I got a combination of flower. I got a combination of just green. So these really aren't going to flower, but they add texture into the pot. They add a different color into the pot. So even if they don't bloom, they still add to the arrangement of it. Same with the kale. Ooh, came right out of this pot. You know, it's not going to flower, but look at that color. Isn't that gorgeous? It definitely adds texture and color into there. So I did pretty good picking out my plants. You know, I knew the size pot I was going to use. I knew what I wanted to do to fill it. So then once you kind of have your arrangement, how you want it to look, you're going to start planting. It's coming out. So then I kind of pull them back out again, but kind of in my mind, how I want it to look. Then you start pulling them out. The other thing that I said, make sure the plants have been watered. You don't want to put a dry plant into the soil either. You want to make sure it's moist. So when they come out of the pot, they could be fairly root bound. So that looks pretty root bound. It's been in that pot, but we can loosen up those roots, because if you don't loosen them up, they're just going to kind of grow around each other. So I usually kind of pull a lot of the root off the bottom. Okay, I'm going to make a mess. Then you kind of tickle, I always call it tickling the roots or massaging the roots. You want to loosen them up around the sides so that they won't just grow around each other. So we're going to loosen those up. We're going to just pop it right in there. I have my soil at a pretty good level. If I had had it too high, I would have had to push some soil aside. Or if it was too deep in there, you want to add some more soil to give you the height. You don't want to plant things deep, but you want to give yourself an inch or two lip inside your pot. This is Nandina. This is the Gulf Stream. Also I just like the colors in it. You know, as it gets new growth, it'll have red colors. It's kind of that nice thing to fill a pot that's always going to be there, but I can change my colors around it seasonally, whether I'm going spring, whether I'm going summer. I can just change those colors around the perennial with the shrub that's going to stay in it.
I'm going to ask one more question.
Sure.
That's pretty green.
Yes.
If you keep it in a pot, will it stay small?
You'd have to trim it. I mean, eventually it's going to get big, but it takes 2 to 3 years. I grew it's called a tiny towers Italian cypress, but it's not so tiny. But I grew one in a pot, I don't know, maybe 3 to 4 years, and it finally just got where I'm like, okay, that's too big. So I pulled it out this season and I'm putting something else in. But I liked it. So it was worth it to me. I mean, is it going to stay there forever? No.
How tall will it get?
I think they get around 15. But I'm not going to leave it in my pot that long. And it would take it a long time to get that big in your container. But I guess the main thing I would say is don't limit yourself. You know, I know you think, oh, this is going to get huge and it's going to take over the world. But don't limit yourself. You can try these for a few years. You're going to get tired of it. Then put something else in. But you've gotten 2 to 3 years out of it. So don't be afraid to try different. You're laughing at me. Don't be afraid to try different things in your pots. Another terrific perennial. So this is lamb's ear. Very animal resistant. So you have animal issues. Very fuzzy, very soft. The javelina hate it. The deer hate it. But another kind of one you could put on the side of your pot. It kind of drapes down, so it could do that nice spill on the side of your pot. This is a garden juniper, Japanese garden juniper. Very, very, it's going to be, eventually, it's going to outgrow your pot, but you're going to get 2 to 3 years on it, and you can always trim these. But how neat to have that kind of just over the edge of your pot, draping over. It's a unique spill. Sometimes we have to think outside the box or the pot and do different things, and it's okay to do that. This is another one that I absolutely love. This is a sedum. The color stays like this year round, and it doesn't get huge. So it stays this really pretty green color year round, but it just drapes right over the edges of your pot.
What's it called?
This is, I just call it sedum. No. This one is lemon ball. Angelina is the other name.
Thank you.
Angelina sedum. But very, very pretty. So, yes.
That's
Succulent?
succulent. That's what
I have mixed it in very successfully with my other pots. I just always put it at the edge. So it kind of tends to dry out a little faster anyways. And when I'm watering from the middle of the pot. So I have used this very successfully in mixed containers and not had a problem with this, even though it's a succulent. Yes?
How frequently would you say it, if you did strictly low water plants in a pot, the sedums, how frequently would they be watered?
Do you have to water? So if you do just succulents in the pot, she's asking how often you have to water. It's going to change a little seasonally. I had a bowl of succulents that I left outside all winter long. They were all winter hardy. And I think I maybe watered a couple of times in the winter time. I truly kind of forgot about it. It looks fabulous. It is a beautiful bowl of succulents. So succulents maybe once a week in the hottest part of the year. Kind of depends how much sun and how much heat is going to get on it. But that's what they're, if you travel a lot, succulents are a great way to go. Okay, here's another cheater. If you don't have time to pot a lot of different things, just get a big basket and you can just pop it out and put it in your pot. Thank you. I worked hard on that. But it's an easy way to go. You know, if you don't have the time or you just don't want to fuss with it, just get a pretty hanging basket and you can put it in your pot. If you had a big enough basket, you can put that on the edge and then something taller around it. So it depends on how big your pot is. But just quick and easy if you don't have time. Herbs. Herbs grow really, really nicely in containers. A lot of these are perennials. So your rosemary, you're going to have that year after year after year. And you keep plucking on it because you're using it for cooking and that type of thing, so it keeps it contained. This is a golden oregano. I'm very drawn to this color. You guys notice that? I'm like, everything I pick has this color. But it shows up so dynamically in your containers. Because everything's green, 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 and then you have this kind of chartreuse, yellowy green. It shows up very nicely. You could mix some thyme in there. This is a French thyme, so this is more of a cooking thyme. Throw that in there on your edge. This could be your spiller in your pot. We have a new thyme that we got in. Ooh, I love this. So this is Thymus foxley. This is a new thyme that I found for this year. It's kind of a variegated. It has very much that smell, that thymy smell to it. I don't know about cooking, but you could try it, see. But I just really loved the color on that. And that would be another terrific one to put on the side of your pot, kind of have that spill coming out. It's also got a cousin. This one's lemon. This is a lemon variegated. This one has if you like that lemony smell. Ooh, it smells really lemony. Very, very nice. But variegated, very pretty. Doesn't have as much of a drapey feel to it as the other. Vincent, goodness gracious. But it could be a good filler, you know, because you got that thrill, fill, and spill. So this could be a good filler in an herb pot for you. The other question I get is, can you mix herbs and flowers? Why, yes, you can. Don't be afraid to mix it. It's fine. The herb's not going to care. The flower's not going to care. And they're unbreakable. This is lavender. Another great kind of filler plant. I just love the smell of lavender. So you can mix your herbs, edible, and just smelling in with anything that you've got. This one I brought up because I thought it'd be another. This is a perennial. This is in the dianthus family. But I thought this would be a good filler. And it's still going to continue to bloom all season long. But it's not going to get so tall and big. It's not going to take over your pot, but it's a really pretty little splash of color in there. Once these all pop open, it's going to be beautiful. Yes.
Is the lavender a perennial or an annual?
Perennial.
Perennial, okay.
Yeah. So yes, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is you can easily mix your perennials and your annuals. You can mix herbs. You can mix vegetables. We have a great big container in the back that we grow tomato in every year, but we put trailing petunias in with it. So petunias are trailing over the pot, then the tomatoes in there. It has a tomato cage on it, but it looks really cool. So don't be afraid to mix things. This was another, so here's another example. There's my color again. This is a heuchera as well. Heucheras come in so many different colors. They're kind of a shade plant. So if you have a shady porch or a filtered light area, these are terrific to use in there as fillers. But I love heuchera. This is a spike. You've seen the spike? It makes a really great thrill because it stands up and screams at you. Mostly will not winter over. Every once in a while, perfect pot in a perfect spot, gets enough radiant heat, that type of thing, it'll winter over, but not really. Could you bring it inside? Yes. You could treat it as a house plant and bring it inside in the wintertime. But fun, for the season. And some people tell me, oh, I don't want to spend that kind of money. It's just the season. Well, start thinking how long your season is. You've got March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. We frequently go into November. So for 9 months, you're going to have color and pretty out on your deck or by your front door. So cost average it out. So maybe something costs $10. Well, we spread it out over 9 months. It's pretty cheap. Cheaper than a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and cheaper than buying a bouquet of flowers.
There you go. She said cheaper than buying a bouquet of flowers, and that's true because that's going to last, if you're lucky, a week, and then it's gone. So, don't be afraid to spend, especially on your perennials, because they're going to stay around year after year. So don't be afraid to spend a little more for those things that are going to be there for you. Yes?
In general, what are the water requirements on herbs?
On herbs?
Yeah.
Kind of depends. So, things like rosemary, lavender, they're pretty drought hardy. And they like the heat, and they like the sun, they like to be on the dry side.
What about that new thyme that you had?
Most of your thyme is pretty hardy too. It doesn't take a lot of water. So, mixing this in with the rosemary or with the lavender would be nice because they would have all real similar water requirements. So most of your herbs, mint likes to be wet. What else likes to be wet, Cheryl? Parsley, yeah. But so kind of, if you're putting herbs in, you do want to put ones that either like the dryness or ones that like the moisture and kind of make sure you're planting like ones together on that.